The McManus Galleries was established in the kind of mid to late 19th century. We had a very influential art lobby within the city, and they gifted great numbers of works. They were very interested in contemporary art, and so really the main body of the collection is 19th century and obviously latterly 20th century Scottish art. What's happened in the last 10 years in Dundee is that the city itself has become much more outward looking through the establishment of Dundee Contemporary Arts, which has an international reputation. The work of the artist-run collective Generator, which also has an international reputation, meant that our collection had to really change. It had to reflect the kind of developments and the quality of artwork that was being brought into the city. I consciously looked at people that had a Dundee connection to start off with. So Sophie Rickett, for example, was one of our first purchases, and it was a work that had been created in Dundee but actually never shown in Dundee. Although the policy is called On Reflection and we have one work that is literally a reflection on a wall, we didn't want to buy lots of mirrors and highly reflective pieces. It's a kind of a philosophy that hopefully allowed us to look quite widely and learn as we travelled. It's a kind of a clear headspace for you to get away from the daily routine and start thinking a bit more creatively about what you do. It's very difficult to do that on a day-to-day basis. One of the weird things that came out of it was the strands that were coming through were all very natural, and there was a kind of sense that I was interested in sublime landscape, and that all of them actually hung together as a group. Burning Roses by Matt Collishaw, and then subsequently, not long after, I actually bought Where the Heart Is by Graham Fagan, which of course is a sculpture, bronze sculpture of a rose. Quite unconsciously didn't consider at the time that actually these are two roses. We've also got a piece by Massimo Bartolini, a very beautiful, it's a dry point onto plexiglass which then casts a shadow of a Nespolo tree on the wall behind it. And we've ended up right at the end of the scheme buying a series of images by the photographer Wolfgang Tillmans, one of which is an amazing photograph of a window that's just filled with this very rich green tree. Graham Todd is an artist that we've been interested in for quite a long time. It's just a magnificent work. It's, I suppose, a transitional piece. It was created when he was on residency in Switzerland, and it looks back to the kind of things that we'd been attracted to with his old work, the sort of drips and interest in the surface of the painting, and looks to the work that he's now doing, which is to create composition, to look at composition and create little vignettes of architecture or landscape which have traditional perspective. And so for us it was a great work. It's a complex work, but it has that tension between the surface of the painting and the perspective. Each of the film works were very powerful, and it wasn't an intention from the outset that we would put together this little collection of filmed works. Skogangor was commissioned by Generator and shown there, and it is also interested in landscape and the kind of idea of the sublime, but it's a very lo-fi approach. You know, the two guys shot it in 3 days while they were travelling from Glasgow to Ullapool. They shot it on borrowed equipment, they edited it in their bedroom, they created the soundtrack also in their bedroom. The Matt Stokes piece was another commission that was initiated by DCA as part of an exhibition called Our Surroundings, which specifically focused on Dundee, and he created a film of this kind of reunion for Northern Soul fans in a local church. We also looked at other artists who had created work that had also been shown locally and work that was shown more internationally. So we bought I Look Up, I Look Down by Pernilla Spence also, but another work in new media which is slightly more difficult for us to acquire. We purchase work that we want to have in the collection, but where we feel there are difficulties with being able to look after that long term, we will either adapt the purchase. So for example, we were interested in Tillmans, who does huge photographs, unframed, they're not mounted, you pin them to the wall, gorgeous, but we felt that it just wasn't within our powers to look after that long term. And in the end, what we did was we purchased quite a small series of 5 photographs, so like a little portfolio, which actually then shows the breadth of his work. I think we've learnt an awful lot about our collection, and I think that it's given us a period for close consideration of where we want the collection to go in the future. It's been a huge learning process, and that learning doesn't finish with the end of the scheme. That's the great thing about it.